Good morning, everyone. This is your friend Terry with the Drone Cav. It's Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. Here in Orlando, Florida, the weather is not really favorable today. The sky is covered in dark, heavy clouds, indicating a high probability of precipitation throughout the afternoon. Since this means we will not be flying today, we still have a good, fun, exciting episode for you on how to increase your efficiency and productivity with your images. It is somewhat of a mystery, a surprise that we have in store. Some would say it's even puzzling. But there are always answers when you look. There are always tips and clues to lead you in the right direction. So with that said, come back for the second half of this show, and while we enjoy this message, let's have a damn fine cup of coffee. Hey, and welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your damn fine cup of coffee and maybe even a slice of huckleberry pie. So, let's get to work. To solve the mystery here, what do you think it could be? Well, we talk a lot about videos. We talk a lot about shooting from different angles, different altitudes, different drone models, things like that. But we don't really talk about still images that much. So let's talk about that some today. Now, it's kind of a nasty day here in Florida. The skies are gray, bad lighting. It's going to rain the rest of the day. So not a really good day for flying out there, but I planned this earlier. So I went out and shot some demo images for us to work with today. So these weren't shot today. Again, you're going to see familiar sights flying from my backyard, but they're just some raw images for us to work with. So what about stills? Well, we're not going to talk about like basic editing and all that. We're going to talk about how to get some pretty impressive shots out of your moderate megapixel camera, like a 12 megapixel camera. Now, the clue I held up at the start was the Mavic Mini. It shoots 12 megapixel stills, same as my autelevo, even with a considerably higher end camera. So you'll find that to sort of be a standard 12. We're starting to see cameras with 20. And of course, higher end cameras just kind of go crazy too, but so does the money. And we're talking about getting some maximum results without breaking the bank, without spending a fortune. Again, the Mini is a good example. It's a $400 drone. But what if you need an image like a big wide panorama, a pretty pixel dense image that you need to be able to zoom in on, you need to punch in, you need to crop, you need to work with, but you don't want to lose that resolution that you would lose with a like a 12 megapixel image. What if you need a higher megapixel image? Well, I'm going to show you some ways to easily get that, to get some really, really high density images in a couple different ways. I'm going to show you one way here on my Mac and also on an iPad. Two really good apps to do this for you. So let's just kind of jump in here and get started. This app is called AutoStitch. You can find it online, you can Google it, it's pretty popular, it's free. I think they have some paid upgrades if you need to do more intricate, tricky stuff. But hey, we're using the free version today and it works just fine for the purposes. So I've opened AutoStitch, it's here in the middle, right underneath Black Dog there. We're going to click on the folder and it's going to open up the window. We're going to navigate to the desktop. Now you can also see out here on the desktop I have the folder, but we're going to click on that folder. It has 28 images in there. So let's select all those images. Scroll down to the bottom here. Got all my images, see 28 items. We're going to open it, and it's going to load those images up. And we'll give it a minute here. Now what I did, I flew up. Now here's sort of the trick to shooting these images. Say you get up to whatever altitude you want, you focus in on the shot you want to get. And again, this is where planning is kind of important. You want to think about what you want to shoot. Starting from left to right, take a shot, move a little bit. Don't worry about overlap. Take a ton of pictures. Again, you're taking digital images. You can really go crazy with this. Just shoot a bunch of images, but try to keep the horizon line centered, or at least be aware of where you want that horizon line to be. I'm going to tell you why here in just a second. So you don't want to try to be stingy and stretch it out and maybe overlap 10%. Just overlap like crazy. Shoot a bunch of images. Again, you can see this picture, just completed stitching, popped up here. Did not cover a whole real big area, but again, 28 images. Now, one thing to be mindful of is when you tilt your camera down, you're going to get some distortion there. As you can see down here along the bottom, how the pool enclosure, the fence, and all sort of bends upward. That's again where you're kind of distorting the image. But if you look up here at the horizon line, see it's nice and level. So if we were to crop that image out, we could adjust for whatever image we want if we didn't want that distortion at the bottom, or maybe that's an effect you want. Now you can see how the lines are sort of irregular. That's just based on the images, the way I shot it. But you can go in here, you can crop your image out, and I believe that's here under Tools. We'll crop it, and there we go. So that's not bad. And again, we can further crop it. Like I said, if we want to get rid of some of that distortion and we just want to get more of a clean looking image, go there, crop. And we still see a little bit down here in the bottom left corner, the sidewalk bend and a few things like that. But again, that horizon out here, the trees and all, didn't come out bad. The rest of the street in this area and all, it's as it would be expected. So anyway, there's one image there. Now I'm going to save this. And that is saved out here to the desktop. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to click on that and do a get info. Again, I'm using a Mac, so that will give me a little information there. So that will tell us a bit more about the size of the image. It's a JPEG, so on and so forth. So anyway, that's a quick, easy way to do a pano stitch on your Mac. So now let's jump over and take a look at doing basically the same thing on an iPad. Okay, so now let's take a look on the iPad. Now you're probably aware there's a bunch of different iPad models. There's iPad minis, iPads, iPad Pros, big iPad Pros. There's this whole assortment of different everything with iPad. Keep in mind, the idea here is to not spend $1 zillion to get this work done, and you don't really need to. I'm using a regular iPad, just called iPad, $329. It's not a Pro, it's not decked out. Of course, the Pros are really, really nice. They have a ton of horsepower, ton of bells and whistles and features, and you can get the keyboard and blah, blah, blah. But hey, I've got the regular iPad. It works with the Apple Pencil. It works with Bluetooth keyboards. It's very capable. And again, I didn't spend a ton of money and works great. And I do a little bit of video and photo stuff here and there. LumaFusion, for example, is a really, really good video editor for an iPad. You can use LUTs. It handles 4K really well. Again, it works really good. But what we're using today is an app called Affinity Photo. That's spelled with an A. It's not a free app, it's a paid app. I can't remember the price. I'm sorry. I think it's either 20 bucks or 30 bucks. But it is worth every penny if you do any photo editing. Think of it kind of like Photoshop, but maybe a bit more user friendly. And it's not a subscription. You don't have to pay every month. And it works out pretty well. It's really popular, again, really capable, way over my head. I mean, if you're a creative, it's pretty crazy. Anyway, let's open Affinity Photo. It's that icon at the top just titled Photo, the purple one. All right, so this is the chooser that pops open when you first launch it. Now you can see all these options. You can create a new document. You can import from photos, import from the cloud. We're going to talk about that in just a second, and all these other things. But look at that middle row just to the right of the center, new panorama. It has a tool built in here already to create a panorama of your images. So we're going to launch that. All right, now you see we've got two columns, one on the left titled Images up at the top, one on the right, Panoramas. So of course we have to get some images in there before we can do anything with them. Now look at the bottom of that Images column. We've got three icons, a trash can, kind of obvious if we need to trash an image, the cloud icon in the middle. That lets us select a cloud location like iCloud, Dropbox, Google Drive, something like that if you have your image folder stored there. The next one over, that round icon with a little design in the middle, that it connects to your Photos app. So if you have the images in Photos, you can pull them in from there. I have these images in the cloud, so let's tap the cloud icon, and boom, there they are. Now let's take a second here before we import, and I want you to just sort of take a quick look at these images. Starting at the top left with image number 98, go across 99, 100, 101, 102. Look at the images and you can see about how much overlap I kept in shooting those images. Again, I'm going to preach this constantly. Don't worry about overlap. Just take a bunch of pictures. Don't worry about stretching it out and just barely overlapping the two images and stretch it out. You've got a ton of room on your SD card. Just shoot the images. Shoot a ton of images. Again, for this example, it's 28 images. I could have easily done more. You could get by with less, but again, I like to have a little extra room there, knowing I'm getting all the information into the app so it can work. So that said, up at the top right corner, we have two options, select and cancel. Let's tap select. And so that lets us select the images we want, if we want to go one by one or whatever. But I just want to select everything. So top left corner, select all. See how it lights up all those check marks? And then over to the right again, open. Now it's going to bring those images back into our pane here. Now our image pane is now populated, and you can see those switches to the right, those sliders on off. So if we wanted to exclude an image here, we can turn it on or off. Like maybe you had one image was kind of funky, or the beginning was bad, or whatever the case may be. It is an image you want. You can scroll up and down the list and exclude any images you want. We want to keep everything today. So I'm going to tap that stitch button at the bottom of that column and just let it work here for a minute. So let's just watch the spinning wheel here for a bit. Okay, now you can see it's finished putting our preview together. So over there in the column there on the right under panoramas, we have a preview of what the image would look like. So pretty happy with that. We can get a rough idea of what the image is going to look like. So we're going to tap OK at the bottom. Now it's going to create that panorama. Okay, and there we go. We've got the rendered image. Now, I want you to take a look up at that top left corner. You see that little menu bar across the top there? Tells us about this image. 28 images total. But look at the size, 15,794 by 5537, resulting in an 87 megapixel image, all shot with a 12 megapixel camera from the Mavic Mini. Not too shabby, kind of interesting, huh? But you'll see the same type of borders there and layout. The image, though, is ready to go. I mean, you can crop this, you can take this, export it into your editing app, do any post you want to it. Again, like we saw before, how you can crop it, get rid of that distortion at the bottom and things like that. So anyway, there you go. There's how you do it on an iPad with Affinity Photo, another really good tool. So I hope you've picked up a few tips, maybe something you haven't been aware of before about how you can put images together that you can shoot with really any camera. But again, this works so well for drone stuff, for aerial still images, to get that nice wide panorama. And don't forget about that vertical panorama. And you would use a vertical panorama if you're shooting something that's, say, going a distance. I tend to always use the beach as an example because I live here in Florida. But if you're flying off the coast, you want to get a wide image of the beach, that's fine. But what if you're looking down the beach, like how you would like maybe down a road, down a country road or something like that? You could stitch images vertically. So you would take your images from top to bottom, and that would create a nice tall image. And you would have the beach or the road or whatever at the bottom, opening up to a horizon and the sky above. So again, it's your creativity. You can do so much with it. But again, don't feel that you're limited if you are just shooting with a camera like this, say 12 megapixels or even less. Just take a lot of images, overlap them, use the right tools, whether it's auto stitch on your computer. I believe that's available for PC as well as Mac. You can Google that and find out more about that. Or if you're using an iPad, Affinity Photo is aces. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching today. I hope you picked up a little something out of it. As always, contact me. Any questions, you got any thought starters, you just want to bounce this stuff around, my email is at the end here. And also, I'm a mentor at the Andy Brigade, so book a session. We'll get all kinds of stuff set up for you. So anyway, another way to use your drone to get some really cool still images. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you next week.